Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm Zede Donahue.
And we were just having so much fun together that we haven't gotten as many podcasts recorded today as we wished we would have.
So much fun.
It's just all private fun, right? Okay, we're going to dive into a black hole here, a very large topic, and who knows how many parts this is going to have to be put
This might be
into.
a 2-part series.
This might be like a 5-part series. I
Or
don't
if
know.
we can't think, it might be like a 2-minute
Or maybe,
series.
maybe we'll be done in 13 minutes. Okay. Pressing, ironing, and the like.
Exactly.
Mom, how do you want to start off? Okay, so we iron when we sew. We iron if we have clothes,
Right.
maybe.
What do we iron?
What do we
Because,
iron?
you know, when I grew up, you ironed everything.
Sure.
You ironed your sheets. You ironed your pillow. That's how your mother taught you to iron. You first got to iron handkerchiefs. Think about that. Men carried handkerchiefs. So you'd start out on the handkerchiefs.
Yep.
Because, of course, if you ruined them, it wasn't the end of the world either. And, of course, irons were terrible. They scorched everything. It was awful. And you had
Did you have to put coals in them? No. Oh.
but there was you had a bag that was wet. You sprinkled and kept your clean laundry. You put back in a plastic bag, and then you sprinkled it with water to keep it damp, and then sewed it and washed. And then you pressed it. Damp. Because it got the wrinkles out better, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know
And
that.
then if you didn't get it done and you left it around, it would mildew. So
Right.
you put it in your refrigerator so it wouldn't mildew. Oh, this could be a really long
I'm learning
podcast.
this is all new to
Okay,
me.
no, women had stools that they sat on when they ironed because there could be an ironing day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we think we're busy now.
Just
huh?
think well, you are.
No, I know. I know.
It's
I
but
know.
anyway. Okay, so anyway, as a child, when you start to learn to iron, the first thing you would iron would be handkerchiefs, and then you move to the pillowcases, and then, sheets or whatever. Okay, the flatter things, and then, you would get into more of the things that were shaped. And your father's, white dress shirts with the collar was the last thing they let you do.
Right.
So that there wasn't a big iron mark on them someplace or
Right.
whatever. So, that would be the history of ironing. I actually have my mother's toy iron.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tiny little thing. It's about 4 inches long that you sat on the stove. And why they were called stoves is because they were wood stoves and you used them to heat the house and to cook on.
Right.
They were dual purpose.
Right.
You didn't have, but you would have like 3 or 4 of these little irons, and you would set them on the stove top. They would get hot. So imagine there was no control on how hot they were. Just imagine.
I can't believe that we are even alive as humans with how we used to use like fire and gas and
Right,
everything.
right.
And, I just think of why isn't everyone dead? Like why?
Exactly.
And there were terrible accidents.
Right.
I know.
Well,
but,
by the time ironing, I got to the ironing board, electricity was common.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But TV was in black and white,
But
right?
You used to say, "Mom, was TV in grays when you were little?" Yes, it was. Lassie was in grays.
So I've found this theme that like I, quote unquote, make fun of you for being old, and then you make fun of me for being like mean and scatterbrained while pregnant. Like that's the theme.
Is that our
Like,
theme?
yes. Yeah. I'm not pregnant right now, but Mom.
Oh my
that's our
gosh! But
theme.
if it comes again, you guys get ready for it. Is all I can say.
So now, so you ironed almost all of your clothing.
Almost everything except something that was like wool. That you sent to the cleaners, and of course it came. Now you might press something wool in between. You might use a press cloth and put it between the iron and your garment, so you wouldn't, totally massacre it.
I'm going to try and segue here,
Mm-hmm.
and you can back me up if you want to, but I feel like we don't iron our everyday clothing as often as we used to. I know that some of you out there are going to say things like, I love
There
to
are people that love to
or
iron. I
whatever,
love
you
to
know.
iron. I don't always have time for it, but I love it.
Right. But a lot of people don't iron as much as they used
Yeah,
to.
and
okay?
I used to iron sheets.
And now I
Yep.
think that sometimes people are unfamiliar with it, maybe until they like make their own clothes.
Right, or something dreadful
then-
happens where they just have to use an iron.
Yeah,
right.
and then they go to use the iron or to press something, and they're not sure how to do it.
That's
and so
right.
that's why I wanted to talk about
Right.
pressing, sort of as it relates to sewing your own
Not
clothes.
everyday life.
Not everyday.
Because it doesn't relate to everyday life that
like
much.
it used to.
No,
but
it
we
doesn't.
iron things that aren't clothes, right?
Right. Well,
Okay.
one thing in sewing that I iron is, if I've drafted a pattern onto some sort of paper or tissue paper, I always iron that paper out flat before I use it again if I have folded it up.
Yes.
Now, a lot of times, a way that we will store our patterns we're using a lot is we just tack them up on the wall or
Right.
cork board or something, so they're hanging there ready to
I've
go.
been using skirt hangers
we do that.
for some of the ones that I've been printing on printer
She's talking
paper.
about like clip, the
the
hangers with
clips.
clips, and we have the skirt hangers where there's like multiples, like
Uh-huh.
there's 6 places to hang a
Those are
skirt,
nice.
and they're perfect to hang something
Yeah,
from,
yeah.
and they're easy to find, especially if it's something you use over and over again.
But when you iron a tissue pattern,
Mm-hmm.
you don't use steam, do you?
You really don't want to use water because
Right.
basically you'll actually wrinkle it.
Right.
It'll pulp up, and then when you wrinkle it, it will be puffy and out
And
of
I
shape.
think maybe that's a question that we should get to or address each time we talk about pressing something is steam or no steam.
Yeah.
Or
And that can be hard sometimes to
Yes.
know.
It can.
Yes.
So when is there a difference between ironing and pressing?
Well, I think in some ways it's semantics.
Okay.
You would iron a pillowcase. You would go back and forth with your iron on it. Or you
Right.
might iron yardage and sort of go back and forth on it. But when you're applying heat to a seam or trying to keep a shape or go around a curve, the better term would be pressing,
Right.
because you don't want to go back and forth. You want to take that iron and put some pressure on it.
You don't want to distort
Absolutely.
your whatever,
That's
your
right.
pattern piece or your garment.
And that's another reason when you're sewing that there are ironing tools.
right.
There's forms to
Uh-huh.
put under your garments, so that if you're truly pressing a curve, it really should not be on the flat ironing board.
Right.
It should be on a dressmaker's ham, or what's the big wooden thing? What are they calling it now?
Clapper.
It has a clapper on one side, but
Sleeve,
it has
yeah.
it has all the curve and the point and all of
Right.
that on the other side. I don't know how anybody lives without a sleeve board,
Right.
because you get in those little places with a
So-
sleeve board.
I think that I see people sometimes come in the shop
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay, now go press this. And they look like a cartoon when they go over the ironing board. And they're like, doonch, doonch.
Yeah.
Like they're this and that and all these different.
And let me tell you how
pressing
many
it out and
customers
da, da, da.
ruin ironing board covers.
Oh, no.
They just burn the crap out of everything.
Our ironing board covers.
I mean, they're brand new and they're unnew in like 2 seconds.
Our ironing board cover at home, pristine.
Yeah.
The one at the shop, there's like starch and scorch marks. And
I
don't know.
think it's because people don't do it anymore.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But I think that people can be too rough with an iron.
Right.
If you have a nice iron, you shouldn't have to be like, any iron,
Right.
you shouldn't have to be rough with it. But,
Right.
calm down a little bit, I guess is what I'm saying.
Irons we have a very expensive iron. Very expensive, you guys. There are cars that cost less than the iron we have in our home.
We can say it's on Amazon. It's $2,500.
Yeah. And that's our focus, and that's what we use. And before that, I had a $500 iron. But we keep them and we use them for a long time. They're important to us.
This is an industrial, a
commercial. I would call it
a
commercial.
commercial
right.
iron. It's an iron you might find in a place that does alterations and dry
tailoring,
cleaning.
right.
Yeah, it's a Laura Star brand iron, and it has its own boiler on it.
Right. It has its own tank. It has a fan. It has a fan on the actual ironing board.
And I showed a video of you steaming those shirts.
Right.
And I was like, oh, what iron is that? That's such a nice iron.
Right.
And I don't think people want to pay for
That's
irons.
more like a steaming ironing system.
Yeah.
That's not just an iron.
It's a whole
right.
kit and caboodle.
Right.
So
But what I will tell you, and we used to sell irons. And then people would think, oh, I paid $80 for an iron. It should last forever. Well, it won't. Not if you're really using it. We just don't sell them anymore. There's so many box stores that can undercut us with their prices. So we let them sell them to you. My best guideline that I can think of is don't buy an iron that also makes power tools. You don't want a Black & Decker iron, okay? You want an iron that has a name associated with sewing or fabrics or, the industry of garments.
Well, and one iron that we have carried in the past, and sometimes I get it in the store, and we use it, is the Oliso.
And I like it a lot.
And it pops.
Right.
It's the one that pops up. You've seen it in videos. They're all over
Right.
the place. Now, I will say, I just found out that they make sous vide machines. Do you know what that is? Where you cook the food in the plastic
Right,
bags? I
right.
didn't know. And they make like vacuum sealers
Right.
too. Anyway, so the Oliso, and they're not paying me to say this.
Well, that's not a power tool. There's a difference.
You're right. It's heating.
The reason I say that is, and that the sous vide machine makes sense to me. The reason I say that is a lot of those hardware store irons, they get really hot, really fast, and they don't have any real, and an iron is an alternating current, so that's another thing, and all irons are alternating currents. So what they do is they pull energy, and then they slow it, then the energy goes off and slows down. So it's not something that goes to a temperature and stays at a temperature.
Well, and something we liked about
it's a crock pot with a plate on it.
Yeah, something we like about the Oliso was that they do have a warranty.
Right.
I can't remember exactly what it is, but that's why we're okay with carrying it.
But usually they're not more than a year, everybody.
Yeah, I can't remember what this one
Right.
is. I think it might be longer.
Okay.
But, you weren't even happy with that because it doesn't do vertical steam.
Right. I have to have something that steams, especially because of all the different fabrics I use.
Right.
And the fact that, I use a lot of fabrics that I embellish and things like that.
Okay, so as we're jumping around
Right.
in this pressing land, which I think it's fabulous, before we talk about some of those gadgets, let's go ahead. So the gadgets we use that aren't irons, but that we use with ironing.
Okay.
Let's take a quick message break.
All right. Hey, Mal.
Hey, Mom.
I heard you were easy.
Oh, no!
What does that mean?
No, it means what you really heard was, wow, Mallory, your easy tea looks so good on you.
Oh,
Yes.
I should have known
If
that it was
you're-
something about something you made.
Like you said, you're getting into your golden years. Sometimes, mishearing things. It happens.
No, you're
right?
the one that mishears things. I know this. You make lapel pins about it.
Okay, so I am currently wearing an Easy Tee, and I wear them all the time. The Easy Tee is a semi-fitted short sleeve t-shirt made out of a woven fabric, and you draft the Easy Tee to fit your measurements by taking the Easy Tee class.
Well, how do I take this class?
It's an online class that you can watch anytime on sewhere.com. To purchase the class, go to sewhere.com/EasyT. That's just EASYT.
Is this on my computer?
It's on your computer. It's on your phone. It's on your iPad. The class is divided up into short, easily consumable segments, some of which you may not ever need to watch ever again, but some of which you might want to revisit. So you have the ability to mark lessons as completed and also to star lessons so you can go back and revisit the ones that are most important to you.
And I can vouch, Mallory's Easy Tea is a lot easier than Mallory is.
Once again, go to sewhere.com/EasyT to begin your pattern drafting journey. Sewing out loud. All right, and we're back.
Right.
So we went off on our little iron tangent, and
Right.
we'd love to hear from you. What iron have you had that's lasted forever? Tell us.
Yeah,
What do you
one
like?
you think's good, right?
What do you like?
The other thing, I'm
let us
I'm
know.
just going to stick this in here before we forget about it. So you go to a hotel room and there's an iron and an
Oh,
ironing
yeah.
board,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah. What do you do?
What do? The first thing you do is you go over to your bed and you take the pillowcase off of your bed and you use it as a press cloth, because I guarantee you will burn the crap out of whatever you iron with that. Because that iron, you have no idea how it's been used, where it's been
How
used,
old it is.
or it's going to spit up something. So take your pillowcase off. It's a perfect pressing cloth. Lay your garment down on the ironing board, lay the pillowcase on top of it, and then press.
Really great tip, Mom. Okay, let's talk about iron gadgets. Let's just get there. Okay.
Right. Well,
so
I mean, you try a ham.
okay, start there. Start with ham.
Okay, and a ham is a big stuffed thing that looks kind of like the shape of a ham.
Delicious cured pig. No, sorry.
So it's this is probably vegan because it's probably stuffed with cotton or wool or whatever.
Right.
But it's a hard thing.
Wool would not be vegan.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
You're
you
right.
can't use
That's
wool.
an animal.
No.
And you borrowed it off the
And you didn't
sheep.
ask them.
That's right.
So it's a ham and it's stuffed with like
Cotton or wool or
cotton
whatever.
and
It's make stuff to be hard. So this
Yeah.
is a hard shape with many curves, which of course on one end has a larger curve than the other, like the ham, like a canned ham,
Yeah.
even. And that would be. That's an inexpensive purchase. I would say get that one.
ironing tool number 1.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say ironing tool number 2 should be a sleeve board
Mm-hmm.
or a
Sleeve roll.
sleeve roll, either one. I think I would opt for the board big time. We sell one
Oh.
that's not very expensive, folds down flat. Like
Yeah, it's
I love it.
collapsible.
Yes.
And so you can like hang it on your wall or store it like vertically.
I hang it under the ironing board.
Yes, you could put it if your ironing board has like a little. Some of them have those little
Absolutely.
trays. or
Some
something.
people even use this for like a traveling iron.
And there are people who have
ironing
published
board.
to go back to
Right.
the ham and like the sleeve roll. There are people who've published patterns where you can like make
You
your
can
own.
make your own.
Yeah.
I have done such things as roll up newspaper or a magazine
Uh-huh.
and put fabric around it. Do you know what I
To
mean?
create-
To make like a sleeve roll or a
So,
ham or something.
Why do you need hams and rolls and sleeve
Right.
boards, right? Why can't the ironing board just suffice?
Because it's too flat.
it's too flat.
And you need those curves, especially when you're if you're setting a sleeve or you want to press in, that shape. You need it. The sleeve board is to get inside, or
A
the sleeve roll
cuff,
is to get
yeah.
inside a small narrow tube. I use that constantly when I hem jeans.
Oh yeah. It's
I
called a
couldn't
sleeve
live
board,
without it.
But I think the last 2 times
Right.
I've used it.
Or baby clothes.
Yeah, but the last
Yeah.
2 times I've used it, I was hemming jeans for me or somebody
Right.
else or showing someone else how to do it. And the sleeve board is just so amazing for that. But the ham,
It's sort of like having a free arm for your ironing board.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
It is. The ham, I just want to say real quick in case you've never heard of this, you're like, what the heck are they talking about? Picture like a dart. Picture a princess seam that like goes over a person's breast or something like that accommodates a bust, or picture a sleeve cap, and it's not something that you can just smash down flat into the ironing board. So that is why you need those other shapes, because
Right.
so you can't just press flat something that's supposed to actually
Well, you
be
can,
curvy.
but it would
Well,
be
you
out of
can't. Yeah,
shape.
you're right. You're
right.
right.
You'll distort it.
Okay,
Right.
and so those are 3 really common ones, and then this next one we're going to talk about. It's a bit of an investment. They're about $22, $25.
And there's a
anywhere.
couple of different kinds.
Yeah, there's a couple different kinds, but I've looked, and I was sort of like, do we want to carry these? Because if you can get it super cheap, like on Amazon,
Right.
I'm not going to carry it. But really, it's expensive everywhere, sort of. But I
They
think
don't even sell a lot of them on Amazon.
right, exactly. And that is they'll call it a clapper, a pounding block, and with a point presser
With a
on
point
it.
press.
And it looks, okay, this is how I like to describe it. It looks like a wooden anvil.
Oh, no. I think if you turn it the other way, it looks like an ice skate.
Yes, like a sled.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
And it's basically, I think, why they're more like expensive. I don't know. They last forever. Okay.
Yeah,
you
you can't wear it'd have to burn up
You'd
in a
have
house
to burn,
fire
yes,
or something.
Yes. So
yeah.
if you do buy this, you're gonna have it
Right,
forever.
right.
It's a solid hunk of wood.
Right.
And Becca is so cute. She's like, you could carve one of those. I'm like,
Go right
you
ahead.
could, okay, absolutely. But it's got a large flat area.
Right. It's kind
surface.
of like the bottom of a shoe. It's a big, huge, like
sole almost.
kind of like a sole, like a foot,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, but it's usually very symmetrical. And that's the clapper part.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a seam you need to pound, that would be on like thick wool. I'm trying to think of
Jeans.
Jeans.
I've been having people
right.
use them with the jeans.
So you take it and you pound it down.
Yeah.
Now, the nice part about that is the point turner part.
Yep.
They've made into like the handle, so you can use that as the handle
Yeah.
on the clapper.
So you have that upper part that's your handle, and then the handle has this zoom thing
Yeah,
out
that's
the
the
front that's like your blade of your ice skate.
It's the point of
sorta.
your ice skate
Yes.
blade. Yes.
And it goes to a point, and you can put that inside like a collar.
Right.
Or
Any point.
other point.
Any point.
Any
right.
other point.
Could be on a bag. I mean,
And then these all have, they all look a little different. The other side on this one is like squared off.
Right.
And this is a larger one.
Now, this is a big
that
one.
I'm
We
holding.
also have, I think it's at the shop now. I never know what's where. Things get taken back and forth sometimes. But we have one that has like an arc in the wood.
Yes.
So it sort of, if you didn't have a ham, you can sort of you know, use that as your curve too. But I like both of them. I like both of them.
Well, and all of these things that we've discussed, the ham, the sleeve roll, the sleeve board, and the clapper are
With
things,
the point turner.
Yeah, are things that will last you forever.
Right.
I mean,
right.
the sleeve board, we've got one at the shop that I'm pretty sure I used when I was like 5.
Oh, I
that
think,
one with the red grid on it.
yeah.
And the ones we sell now are like covered in muslin.
Are
but
they?
like
yeah.
this one is really old.
Right. Right. No, that one's not that old. That's only about 20 years old.
Only about 20 years
I think
old.
the one that one over there is probably about 40 years old.
So if you're
So-
if you're looking to invest in these
Right.
things, you really are you're gonna have
And
for a
you
long
know,
time.
I guess it is hard sometimes. You go, ooh, I have to pay $25, $40 or whatever
Yeah.
it is for this. You know, even if it's $19.99, and you go, I could buy 2 yards of fabric with that. I mean, sometimes it's, you don't get to buy the pretty. You need to buy the practical in order to make the pretty easy and free flowing.
Yeah, so if you do like, what if you have a $50 a month sewing budget or
Right.
something? Well, good for you for being so organized and having like a budget.
And having a budget at all.
Yeah, but one time, put
Right.
the clapper on there, put a ham on there, and like I said, sometimes they can be a little more expensive, even like the ham because they're heavy.
Right.
To ship or
Right.
something.
Well, and
you know.
I think the other thing, when I started sewing, we had none of these things in my household because my mother didn't sew.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted a pair of whisk scissors, which was kind of like your Ginger today, maybe. It was the high quality shears. And I think they were like $20.
Yeah.
Okay, that was like maybe $150 nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I got pictures. Now all you have to do is email somebody or, text it to them on the phone, a picture of what you want for Christmas, for your birthday.
Right.
Somebody's going to be happy to get you that. It doesn't look like it's pretty and great these things don't sparkle.
Yeah, they might not know.
But the fact that they get to get you something that you will really be happy and excited
I
about.
have had family members, either like husbands or children or something, come into the shop, and we let people fill out Christmas lists. Let them, and they'll be like, "Oh, she says she wants a clapper," and so like I get this wooden
Right.
thing, and they're like, "Oh, is that what that is?" And I think they maybe they're
Right.
not as excited about
Right.
it as the person would be.
Well, it's like anybody getting something for their hobby that the rest of the world doesn't understand.
Well, this part of the podcast, we're reaching kind of our limit here. I want to talk about one more gadget, and then I think we're gonna have to move on to part 2.
Okay.
Make this a 2-parter. And this gadget that I want to talk about is called the hot iron finger, I think is what it's called. And it's a really exciting gadget. It looks like a big blue wand, and it has a rounded side, and then it has a side that looks like a spatula.
Right.
It's
A
made-
pointed spatula, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of like it's square on one side,
Right.
and then like
Right.
rounded.
Yeah,
on
it
the
is
other-
very much like
a
it's like
pointed-
a rubber scraper.
Yeah, like a rubber scraper. Yes. So sure, yeah.
Right.
And it's made out of like silicone,
Right.
high grade silicone.
And this is new, you guys.
And when they came out with this, it's like a Clover product.
Right.
They came out. I was like, that's my sew-in stick.
Right.
And I just feel so amazing when I'm holding it. So have
Right.
you ever burnt yourself using the iron? Yes.
Well,
you're
this
I
is
just-
like a fake finger.
yeah. So whenever you want to put your finger on hot stuff while you use the iron, this would replace it.
And it's wonderful. It really
I
is.
just love it. And if you want to press like a seam open, like roll a seam open, you like tuck this thing, picture a tube. You've sewn
Right.
a long tube together. You can like stick this inside the
Right.
tube and roll out your seam and iron right
That's
on
right.
it. And it's all good. Now it does get hot, but it doesn't melt, you
Right.
know? So there are a few other things like this. There are silicone like stilettos that you can put in corners and they are heat resistant. So you can put a point turner in there
Right.
and get it hot. And I'll post links to all these, but I think that everyone should treat themselves to a sewing stick. It's a big blue
Sewing stick.
sewing stick, and it makes you feel very powerful whilst holding it, even if you're not ironing. Makes you feel like a queen. So I think the next few things we need to talk about, I'm just putting this list out there. We need to talk about pressing cloths. We need to talk about cleaning your iron. We need to talk about steam. And maybe we could get a little bit into fusible interfacings and stabilizers and things like that. So keep a lookout for pressing
Part 2.
Pressing part 2. We're on Instagram, Zede Sewing Studio. You can email me at mallory@sewhere.com.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.
So long and so happy.